The fluorescent lights of Romano's Italian restaurant buzzed overhead as Lisa wiped down table 14 for what felt like the 100th time that day. Her lower back ached. Her feet screamed for relief, and she still had 3 more hours before her shift ended. This was her life now. 7 days a week, double shifts whenever she could get them, smiling at customers who sometimes forgot to say thank you. 28 years old, and this wasn't supposed to be the plan. Life had a funny way of laughing at plans. Lisa grabbed the coffee pot and made her rounds through the dining room, refilling cups and checking on tables. An older couple at table 6 needed more Parmesan. The business lunch at table 9 wanted their check split 4 ways. A kid at table 2 had just knocked over his orange juice. Normal stuff. The kind of routine that had become muscle memory after 5 years of doing the same thing. Day after day after day, she headed to the kitchen, dodging her co-worker Jake, who was rushing out with a tray of pasta dishes. The kitchen was chaos as always, pots clanging, orders being shouted, the smell of garlic and tomato sauce thick in the air. Lisa had grown to love that smell, even though it clung to her clothes and hair long after she clocked out. Table 12 wants to know if we can do the chicken marsala. Without mushrooms, she called out to the head chef. Again with the modifications, he muttered. But nodded yes. Lisa smiled. At least the people here were good. They treated her well, paid her on time, and didn't ask questions about her life before this. That was worth something. That was worth a lot, actually. During her break, she sat in the back alley behind the restaurant, eating leftover breadsticks and scrolling through her phone. She avoided social media mostly. Too many updates from people she went to college with. Too many photos of their successes, their performances, their dreams coming true while hers had quietly died somewhere between graduation and reality. She'd gone to one of the best music schools in the country. Spent 4 years studying classical piano, practicing 8 hours a day, competing for the top spot in her class. She'd been good too. Really good. Her professors had told her she had something special, that natural gift that couldn't be taught. They said she'd go places, but nobody had mentioned the other part. The part where thousands of talented musicians graduated every year, all fighting for the same handful of opportunities. The part where being great wasn't enough when you didn't have connections or money or just plain old luck. The part where student loans didn't care about your dreams, they just wanted their monthly payment. Lisa had tried for 2 years after graduation. Really tried. She auditioned for orchestras, applied for teaching positions, performed at small venues for almost no pay. She practiced until her fingers ached, perfecting pieces that nobody would ever hear. Then her grandmother got sick, and the medical bills started piling up. Then her car broke down. Then her roommate moved out, and suddenly rent was double. The dominoes fell fast. One day she was a musician struggling to make it. The next day she was a waitress who used to play piano. She'd sold her baby grand piano 3 years ago. That had been the hardest day. The couple who bought it seemed nice enough. They had a daughter who was just starting lessons. Lisa helped them load it into their truck, watching a piece of her soul drive away down the street. She'd cried that night for the first time in months. Used the money to pay off a chunk of debt. It was the practical thing to do. The smart thing. It still felt like betrayal. Her break ended and she headed back inside. The lunch rush was starting to pick up. More tables to serve, more orders to remember, more smiles to paste on even when she felt hollow inside. The funny thing was, most days she didn't even feel sad anymore. The grief had faded into something else. Acceptance maybe? Or just exhaustion. She went through the motions, paid her bills, got through each day. This was adult life, right? This was what everyone did. Put away childish dreams and learn to survive. But then there were moments. Small moments that caught her off guard. Like right now, walking past the old upright piano in the corner of the dining room. It sat there every day, mostly ignored, sometimes used as a coat rack by customers. The owner had bought it years ago, thinking it added atmosphere to the place. Sometimes they hired a piano player for special events, though not often. Mostly it just sat there, out of tune and gathering dust. Lisa paused, her hand resting briefly on the closed lid. She could feel the keys underneath, even through the wood. Her fingers twitched involuntarily, remembering the feeling. That perfect resistance, the weight of each key. The way sound bloomed from silence with just the right touch. She pulled her hand away quickly, like the piano had burned her. "You okay?" It was Jake carrying a stack of dirty dishes. Yeah, fine, Lisa said, forcing a smile. Just spacing out, Jake laughed. I feel you. This shift is dragging. Lisa nodded and got back to work. She took orders, delivered food, cleared tables. The dinner crowd rolled in around 6. Families with loud kids. Couples on dates. Groups of friends celebrating something or just enjoying good food and wine. Lisa served them all with practiced efficiency, her mind on autopilot. Nobody in this restaurant knew about her past. They knew her as Lisa the waitress. Reliable Lisa who never called in sick. Quiet Lisa who didn't complain and always picked up extra shifts. They had no idea that she'd once performed Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 for her senior recital. That she'd played Chopin's ballads from memory. That she'd dreamed of concert halls and audiences and making music that moved people to tears. That person felt like someone else now. A stranger she used to know. Mr. Romano, the owner, was a decent guy, second-generation Italian, ran the restaurant with his wife. They treated their staff fairly, which was more than Lisa could say for other places she'd worked. He was in the dining room tonight, greeting regular customers, making sure everything ran smoothly. Lisa had just finished taking an order when she overheard him on the phone near the hostess stand. His voice was stressed, frustrated. What do you mean you can't make it? We have a party of 50 people coming in an hour and I promised them live music. He listened, his face getting redder. No, I understand you're sick, but fine, yes, I hope you feel better. He hung up and rubbed his face with both hands. His wife came over and they talked in hushed voices. Lisa caught bits and pieces. Their regular piano player was sick. They'd tried calling the backup. Nobody was available on such short notice. The anniversary party arriving soon had specifically requested live music. Lisa felt something flutter in her chest. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. A tiny voice that said maybe, what if you could? She immediately pushed it down. That was crazy. She hadn't played in years. Well, not publicly. Sometimes late at night in her apartment, she'd pull up piano videos on her laptop, her fingers silently moving along with the music, pretending. But that was different. That was safe. That was private. This would be standing up in front of people. Being seen. Being vulnerable. Risking failure. But Mr. Romano looked so stressed. And she owed him for all the shifts he'd given her, for being a good boss, for never asking questions when she'd needed time off for her grandmother's funeral. Her heart hammered in her chest as she walked toward him, each step feeling like moving through water. Her mouth was dry. Her hands were shaking. This was probably a terrible idea, but she kept walking anyway. Lisa's voice came out smaller than she intended. Mr. Romano? He turned, distracted, still holding his phone like he might try calling someone else. Yeah, Lisa? What's up? She swallowed hard. Her throat felt tight. I couldn't help overhearing. About the piano player. Oh, don't worry about it, he said, waving his hand dismissively. We'll figure something out. Maybe I can get some recorded music going or something. Not ideal, but what can you do? I can play, Lisa said. The words hung in the air between them. Mr. Romano blinked. What? The piano. I can play it. If you need someone. He stared at her like she'd just spoken in another language. His wife Angela stepped closer, curious now. You play piano, Lisa? I studied it. In college. Classical training. Lisa's hands were shaking so badly she clasped them behind her back. I haven't performed in a while, but I still remember. I could help. If you want. Mr. Romano exchanged a glance with his wife. Lisa could see the doubt in his eyes. She was a waitress. She served soup and breadsticks. She'd worked here for 5 years and never once mentioned music. This probably sounded insane to him. Lisa, that's really nice of you to offer, Angela said gently. But this is a big party. 50 people. They're celebrating their parents' 50th wedding anniversary. They specifically wanted live classical music. I understand, Lisa said. Her cheeks were burning. This was a mistake. What was she thinking? I just thought, never mind. I'm sorry. I should get back to my tables. She started to turn away, embarrassment flooding through her. Of course they didn't believe her. Why would they? Wait. Mr. Romano put his hand up. You really studied piano? Like seriously? Lisa nodded. 4 years at Berkeley. Classical performance, his eyebrows shot up. Berkeley? That's not a small thing. It was a long time ago, Lisa said quietly. Mr. Romano looked at the piano, then at Lisa, then at his wife. Angela shrugged, a small smile playing on her lips. We don't have many options, honey. And if Lisa says she can do it. Okay, Mr. Romano said finally. Okay, you know what? The party's coming in 45 minutes. Can you just play something real quick, so we know? Lisa felt her stomach flip. This was it. The moment where she'd either prove she still had it or completely humiliate herself. She looked at the old upright piano sitting in its corner. The finish was scratched. The bench was wobbly. It probably hadn't been tuned in years. Sure, she heard herself say. The dining room wasn't full yet. Maybe 20 people scattered across various tables. A few regulars. Some couples. Nobody was paying attention to the corner where the piano sat. Lisa walked over, her legs feeling strange like they belonged to someone else. She lifted the lid covering the keys. They were more yellow than she remembered, several with chips in the ivory. She sat down on the bench, adjusted the height out of habit, and placed her hands in position. Her fingers were trembling. Her heart was pounding so loud she could hear it in her ears. When was the last time she'd actually played? Not counting those late nights alone in her apartment, pretending. Really played with sound, with purpose. 3 years, 4? She took a breath and started with something simple. Clair de Lune by Debussy. The notes came slowly at first, her fingers remembering the pathways even if her confidence didn't. The piano was definitely out of tune, some keys sticking slightly, but the sound filled the space, and something happened. Something Lisa hadn't expected. It felt like coming home after being away for years. Like taking the first breath after being underwater too long. Her fingers found their rhythm, the muscle memory kicking in stronger with each measure. The trembling stopped. The fear quieted. There was only the music now. She closed her eyes and let it flow. The piece built and swelled, soft then urgent then soft again. She'd played this 1,000 times in her life. Performed it in recitals, in competitions, in her dorm room at 3 a.m. when she couldn't sleep. The notes knew her and she knew them. When she finished, there was silence. Lisa opened her eyes, suddenly aware again of where she was. She turned around slowly. Everyone in the restaurant was staring at her. Every single person. Forks frozen halfway to mouths. Conversations abandoned mid-sentence. Even the kitchen staff had come out, standing in the doorway with dish towels over their shoulders. Jake's mouth was literally hanging open. Mr. Romano looked like someone had just told him his waitress was secretly a brain surgeon. Lisa, you've been working here for 5 years, Angela said, her voice full of wonder. 5 years, and we had no idea. Lisa felt heat rising to her face again, but this time it was different. Not embarrassment. Something else. Something that felt dangerously close to pride. So I can play for the party? She asked. Yes, Mr. Romano said immediately. Yes, absolutely. Angela, get her out of that uniform. Lisa, you're on piano tonight. Full wage plus whatever tips the party wants to give you. The next 40 minutes were a blur. Lisa changed out of her work clothes into the only decent outfit she had in her locker. A simple black dress she kept for emergencies. Angela insisted on helping her with her hair, pulling it back in a neat bun. You look like a real pianist now, she said warmly. Lisa caught her reflection in the bathroom mirror. She barely recognized herself. When had she last dressed up to perform? When had she last let herself look the part of who she used to be? The anniversary party arrived right on schedule. 50 people, 3 generations of a big Italian family all dressed up and excited. They barely glanced at the piano as they filed in, too busy greeting each other and exclaiming over the decorations Angela had put up. Lisa sat down at the bench. From here she could see the entire dining room. All those people about to hear her play. Her hands wanted to shake again, but she wouldn't let them. She'd done this before. She could do this now. She started with Bach. Prelude in C major. Light and lovely, the perfect background music. Conversations continued around her, which was good. She wasn't trying to be the center of attention, just trying to add something beautiful to their celebration. But as she played, something shifted. Tables near the piano went quiet first, heads turning. Then the quiet spread like ripples in water. By the time she transitioned into a Chopin nocturne, half the room had stopped talking to listen. Lisa let herself get lost in it. The nerves faded away completely now. This was what she'd been trained for. This was what she'd loved before life got complicated. Her fingers danced across the keys, pulling emotion from wood and wire, turning silence into something that made people lean forward in their seats. An older woman from the anniversary party stood up and walked closer. She had tears running down her face. "That nocturne," she said quietly during a pause. "My mother used to play that." Lisa smiled at her. "It's a beautiful piece. You're incredible," the woman said. "Where do you usually perform?" Lisa gestured around the restaurant. "Right here." "No, I mean, what concert hall?" "What orchestra?" "Just here," Lisa said softly. "I'm a waitress." The woman looked confused, like the words didn't compute. How could someone who played like that be serving tables? Lisa wondered the same thing sometimes. She kept playing, moved through her mental catalog of pieces. Everything she'd ever memorized flooding back. Mozart, Satie, Beethoven, Schubert. The anniversary party was entranced. The other diners in the restaurant had gone completely silent. Even the kitchen had quieted down. And then Lisa saw something that made her heart stop. Someone in the back of the room had their phone up, recording. A young woman, maybe early 20s, was filming her performance. The phone was pointed directly at Lisa, capturing everything. The piano, the player, the moment. Lisa's fingers stumbled over a note. Should she stop? Ask her not to film? But the woman looked so happy, so moved by the music. And Lisa was mid-piece. Stopping would be awkward, would ruin the moment for everyone else, so she kept playing. She finished the piece, transitioning into something more upbeat for the dinner service. The room erupted in applause. Real applause, the kind Lisa hadn't heard directed at her in years. The anniversary couple stood up and came over personally to thank her, pressing a $50 bill into her hand despite her protests. "You made our night special," the husband said. "You made it magical." Lisa felt something crack open inside her chest, something she'd kept locked away for so long. It hurt and felt wonderful at the same time. The young woman with the phone approached as the party settled back into their dinner. "That was absolutely amazing," she said. "I posted it on TikTok." "I hope that's okay." "I tagged the restaurant." "Oh," Lisa said. "I'm sure. That's fine." The woman smiled and went back to her table. Lisa didn't think much of it. People posted things online all the time. It would get a few likes, maybe, and disappear into the void of the internet. She had no idea that by tomorrow morning, everything in her life was about to change. Lisa woke up on Saturday morning to her phone buzzing. Not just once or twice, constantly, like something was wrong. She grabbed it from her nightstand, squinting at the screen. 53 missed calls. Hundreds of text messages. Her notification bar was completely full. Her phone was literally overheating in her hand. What the hell? Still half asleep, she opened her messages. Most were from numbers she didn't recognize. A few were from old friends she hadn't talked to in years. One was from her mom, written in all caps. "Lisa, call me right now. Are you famous?" Famous? Lisa sat up in bed, her heart starting to race. She opened TikTok, an app she barely used. The video from last night was right there on her feed. The one the young woman had posted. 3 million views. Lisa stared at the number. That couldn't be right. She refreshed. 3.2 million. The comments were exploding in real time, hundreds posting every minute. "This can't be real. Are you telling me she's a waitress?" "I'm literally crying." "Someone sign her immediately. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Her talent is insane." The video had been shared across every platform. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Reaction videos were already popping up. People filming themselves watching her play, tears streaming down their faces. A celebrity with millions of followers had reposted it with the caption, "Found the most talented person on the internet." Lisa felt dizzy. This wasn't possible. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. They happened to other people. Lucky people. People with different lives. Her phone rang. A number she didn't know. She ignored it. It rang again immediately. Different number. Again. Again. She turned her phone off. The silence in her apartment felt surreal. Outside her window, the world was the same as yesterday. Same street, same buildings, same gray Boston sky. But something fundamental had shifted and she didn't understand it yet. Lisa got dressed in a daze and headed to work. It was Saturday, which meant brunch shift, usually one of the busiest times of the week. She needed normal right now. She needed routine. The moment she walked through the door of Romano's, she knew normal was over. The restaurant was packed. Not just packed, absolutely jammed with people. There was a line out the door, which never happened for weekend brunch. Mr. Romano was at the hostess stand looking completely overwhelmed, and when he saw Lisa, his face broke into the biggest smile she'd ever seen. "There she is," he shouted. "There's our star." Everyone in the restaurant turned to look. Then they started clapping. Lisa froze. These weren't regular customers. Well, some were, but mixed in were people she'd never seen before. People with cameras. People who were clearly here because of the video. "Lisa, we've had over 200 calls this morning," Mr. Romano said, rushing over to her. 200? People wanting to know when you're playing next. "We're booked solid for weeks. Do you understand what this means?" Angela appeared from the kitchen, carrying a stack of reservation books. "We had to create a waiting list. We've never had a waiting list in 30 years of business." Jake grabbed Lisa's arm, his eyes wide. "Dude, you broke the internet. My sister sent me the video this morning and I was like, wait, that's my coworker. Do you know how insane that is?" Lisa felt like the walls were closing in. Too many people, too much noise, too much attention. This was supposed to be her safe place. Her quiet place where nobody knew her story. "I just need to..." She gestured vaguely toward the back. "Give me a minute." She escaped to the alley behind the restaurant, the same spot where she took her breaks. The same place where she'd eaten breadsticks just yesterday, scrolling through her phone, living her small, quiet life. She turned her phone back on. Big mistake. It immediately started buzzing again. Messages from reporters asking for interviews, emails from music agents, a voicemail from a local news station, someone claiming to be from a record label. One text stood out. It was from her former piano professor at Berkeley, Dr. Chen, someone she hadn't spoken to since graduation. "Lisa, I just saw the video. I always knew you had something special. Please call me. I have some people you need to meet." Lisa sat down on the concrete steps, her legs suddenly weak. 5 years. 5 years of being invisible, of being nobody, of serving pasta and pretending her old life never existed. And now this. All because she'd been brave for 5 minutes. All because she'd sat down at a dusty piano and played. The back door opened. Angela came out holding 2 cups of coffee. She sat down next to Lisa and handed her one. "Overwhelming," Angela asked. "That's one word for it," Lisa said. They sat in silence for a moment. A delivery truck rumbled past. Somewhere nearby, a dog was barking. "Can I tell you something?" Angela said. "When my husband and I opened this restaurant, everyone said we'd fail. His parents wanted him to be a lawyer. My parents thought I was crazy for leaving my teaching job. But we did it anyway because we loved it. Because it felt right." "This doesn't feel right," Lisa said quietly. "It feels terrifying." "Good things usually do," Angela said. She patted Lisa's knee and stood up. "Take your time. Come back in when you're ready, and Lisa, don't let fear make this decision for you. You already did that once." She went back inside, leaving Lisa alone with those words. The rest of the shift was surreal. Lisa tried to work, but people kept asking for photos. One woman cried when Lisa brought her salad. A man offered her $1,000 to play one song right then and there. Some customers were annoyed that she wasn't playing, having come specifically for that. Others defended her, saying she deserved her break. Mr. Romano finally pulled her aside during the afternoon lull. "Lisa, I need to talk to you about something." He looked uncomfortable. "I've been thinking. Maybe we need to make this official. You as our pianist, I mean. I can pay you more than your waitressing wage. You could perform Wednesday through Saturday nights. We could market it, make it a real thing." "I don't know," Lisa said. "I get it. This is all happening fast. But people want to hear you play. And honestly, business like this could save the restaurant. We've been struggling lately. This could change everything for us." Guilt twisted in Lisa's stomach. She hadn't thought about that. Her viral moment was helping them, yes, but it was also creating pressure. Expectations. That evening, after her shift, Lisa went home and finally listened to her voicemail. 14 messages. Most were reporters. 3 were from music agencies. 1 was from the Boston Symphony Orchestra. The Boston Symphony Orchestra. She played that one twice, unable to believe what she was hearing. They wanted her to audition for a guest performance slot. A real concert hall. A real orchestra. The kind of opportunity she'd dreamed about in college before everything fell apart. Lisa opened her laptop and did something she hadn't done in years. She Googled herself, hundreds of articles, Hidden virtuoso discovered working as waitress. Viral piano performance has everyone crying. Restaurant server's secret talent shocks the internet. There were think pieces about wasted talent in America. Discussions about art majors and student debt. People debating whether she should quit her job and pursue music full-time. Complete strangers arguing about her life, her choices, her future. She found reaction videos from professional pianists, analyzing her technique. Most were complimentary, some critiquing small things. There were mashups, remixes, and parody versions. Someone had turned her performance into a meditation track. The algorithm started showing her other videos of talented people being discovered in unexpected places. A janitor who could sing opera. A homeless man who painted masterpieces. A grocery store clerk who wrote poetry. The internet loved these stories. The hidden genius, the diamond in the rough, the talent that almost stayed buried. But those stories always left out the hard part. What happened after the video went viral? When the attention faded and real life came back? When you had to make actual decisions that would change everything? Lisa's phone rang again. Another unknown number. This time she answered. "Is this Lisa, the pianist from Romano's?" "Yes," she said cautiously. "Hi, I'm calling from the morning show. We'd love to have you on next week. Fly you to New York, put you up in a hotel, have you perform live on national television. Would you be interested?" National television. Lisa thought about stage fright, about the million ways she could mess up, about everyone watching, but she also thought about that feeling. The one she'd had last night when her fingers touched the keys. When the music flowed through her like it had never left. When she remembered who she used to be before fear convinced her to hide. "Can I think about it?" Lisa asked. "Of course. But we'll need an answer by Monday. This kind of momentum doesn't last forever." That was the truth, wasn't it? Viral moments had a shelf life. The internet's attention span was short. This wave would crest and then crash, and she'd be left deciding what to do with the aftermath. Lisa looked at the mirror across from her couch. In it, she could see herself. Not the college girl with big dreams. Not the waitress who'd given up. Someone in between. Someone at a crossroads. She thought about what Angela had said. "Don't let fear make this decision for you. You already did that once." 3 years ago, she'd sold her piano and chosen safety. Chosen to survive instead of to live. And yes, she'd survived. She'd paid her bills. She'd gotten through each day. But had she been happy? Had she been herself? Lisa picked up her phone and started making a list. Not of reasons to say yes or no. A list of what she actually wanted, underneath all the fear and doubt and noise. The list was shorter than she expected, and everything on it scared her, which probably meant it was exactly what she needed to do. Lisa spent Sunday alone in her apartment, staring at her laptop screen. She'd pulled up the email from the Boston Symphony Orchestra 3 times already, reading it over and over like the words might change if she looked long enough. They wanted her to audition, not for some small side gig, for a featured guest performance in their spring season, the kind of stage she'd fantasized about as a student, the kind of opportunity that could launch a real career. But there was a catch. There was always a catch. The audition was in 2 weeks. They wanted her to prepare 3 pieces, including one extremely difficult concerto movement. And they made it clear that going viral didn't guarantee her anything. She'd still have to prove herself in front of their panel. Prove she wasn't just an internet moment, but an actual musician worthy of their stage. Lisa hadn't touched a real piano, besides that one night at Romano's, in 3 years. The upright at the restaurant was out of tune and barely functional. She didn't own an instrument anymore, didn't have regular access to a practice space, didn't have the hours needed to get performance ready. She closed the laptop and put her face in her hands. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mom. "Honey, I saw the video. Your father and I are so proud. Call when you can, proud." The word sat heavy in Lisa's chest. They'd been disappointed when she quit music. Never said it directly, but she could feel it. All that money on her education, all those years of lessons and competitions, and she'd walked away to serve pasta. Now suddenly she was back to being someone they could brag about to their friends. Another buzz, this time from her former professor, Dr. Chen. "Lisa, I've arranged for you to use the practice rooms at Berkeley. Anytime you need. Just say the word." Lisa stared at the message. Dr. Chen had been one of her favorites, tough but fair, believing in her potential even when Lisa didn't believe in herself. She'd been devastated when Lisa dropped out of the music world entirely. They'd lost touch after that. Too painful for both of them, probably. A third message. The record label executive again. Getting pushy now. We need to move fast on this. Public interest won't last forever. Let's set up a meeting this week. Everyone wanted a piece of her suddenly. Everyone had opinions about what she should do. The comments on her video were full of strangers giving advice. Don't let the restaurant hold you back. Stay humble. Don't forget where you came from. This is your shot. Take it. Real art isn't about fame, but none of them had to live with the consequences of her choice. Monday morning arrived too fast. Lisa had barely slept. She got ready for work mechanically, her mind elsewhere. She needed to give Mr. Romano an answer about becoming the official restaurant pianist. She needed to respond to the morning show. She needed to decide about the symphony audition. She needed to figure out what she actually wanted. The restaurant was chaos again. The phone rang constantly. Every table was booked. Mr. Romano had even hired 2 extra servers to handle the crowd, including some shifts Lisa would normally take. She found him in his office, surrounded by paperwork, looking more stressed than she'd ever seen him. "Lisa, come in," he said, gesturing to a chair. "We need to talk." She sat down, her stomach tight with anxiety. "This has been incredible for business," he started. "Absolutely incredible. But it's also becoming complicated. People are getting upset when you're not playing. One guy left a 1-star review yesterday because you were serving tables instead of performing. Can you believe that?" Lisa winced. "I'm sorry. Don't apologize. None of this is your fault. But I've been thinking about what's fair to you, to the restaurant, to everyone." He leaned back in his chair. "I want to offer you something. A real contract as our musician. 4 nights a week, 2 performances each night. Good pay, guaranteed hours. We'll promote it properly, make you the centerpiece of Romano's. This could be a long-term thing for both of us." "That's generous," Lisa said carefully. "But?" Mr. Romano smiled sadly. "I can hear the but in your voice. I got an audition offer. From the Boston Symphony Orchestra." He was quiet for a moment. "That's a big deal." "Yeah. Do you want to do it?" Lisa looked at her hands. "I don't know. Part of me does. Part of me is terrified. And part of me thinks I don't deserve it. That I gave up my right to these opportunities when I sold my piano and chose a different life. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard," Mr. Romano said, not unkindly. "You think there's a time limit on talent? You think you only get one chance to be who you're meant to be? I'm 28. Most professional musicians started younger, trained consistently, never stopped. So what? You're not dead. You can still play. Hell, you proved that Friday night." He leaned forward, his expression serious. "Lisa, I like you. You're a great employee. But watching you serve breadsticks when you can do that..." He gestured toward the dining room, toward the piano. "It feels wrong. Like watching a bird in a cage when the doors open." Lisa felt tears prickling her eyes. The cage felt safe, I know. Safe feels good when you've been hurt, but you can't live your whole life in safe. She left his office without giving him an answer, her head spinning. Jake caught her in the hallway. "Hey, you okay?" he asked. "You look like you're about to cry or throw up or both." "I might," Lisa admitted. "For what it's worth, I think you should go for it. The symphony thing. The big stuff. You're too good to be here." He paused. "No offense to hear. You know what I mean? You think I can do it? I saw you play." "Everyone did." "So yeah, I think you can do it. Question is whether you think you can." That was the question, wasn't it? Not whether she had the talent. Not whether the opportunity was real. But whether she could silence the voice in her head that kept whispering she wasn't good enough. That she'd already had her chance and blown it. That trying again would only lead to more disappointment. During her break, Lisa did something impulsive. She called Dr. Chen. "Lisa," her old professor answered warmly. "I was hoping you'd reach out." "I need advice," Lisa said. "Real advice, not the polite kind." "Okay, shoot. The symphony audition." "Should I do it?" "And please don't just say yes because you're being supportive. Tell me the truth. Do I even have a chance?" Dr. Chen was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something first? When you played at the restaurant, how did it feel?" Lisa thought back to Friday night. The keys under her fingers, the music flowing out, the way everything else disappeared except the sound. It felt like breathing after holding my breath for years. Then there's your answer. "But I'm out of practice. I don't have regular access to a good piano. I'm not where I used to be technically. So practice. Use the rooms here. I already told you they're available. You've got 2 weeks. That's not enough time to learn new pieces, but it's plenty of time to polish what you already know. Dr. Chen's voice softened. Lisa, I watched that video. You know what I saw? The same thing I saw when you were my student. Someone who doesn't just play notes. Someone who makes people feel something. That doesn't go away. That's not about practice time or perfect technique. That's about who you are. What if I fail? What if you don't try? Which regret do you want to live with? After the call ended, Lisa sat in the alley for a long time. The afternoon sun was warm on her face. Traffic hummed in the distance. Normal life continued all around her while she stood at this impossible crossroads. She thought about the last 3 years. The safety of routine. The comfort of knowing exactly what each day would bring. No rejection letters. No failed auditions. No crushing disappointment. But also no music, no joy. No feeling of being fully alive. She pulled out her phone and opened her email. Typed a response to the Boston Symphony Orchestra before she could change her mind. Dear Selection Committee, I would be honored to audition. Please send me the required repertoire list and audition details. Thank you for this opportunity. Sincerely, Lisa. Her finger hovered over the send button. This was it. Once she sent this, she was committing. She was stepping out of her safe cage and into the unknown. She pressed send. Then, she called the morning show and said yes. Then she called the record label and scheduled a meeting. Then, she went back inside and told Mr. Romano. She'd play at Romano's twice a week, Wednesday and Saturday nights. But she needed flexibility for other opportunities. He hugged her, which surprised them both. Go be amazing, he said. Just come back and play for us sometimes, okay? Don't forget the little restaurant where it all started. I could never forget, Lisa promised. That night, Lisa took the train to Berkeley. Dr. Chen met her at the practice building, key card in hand. Room 204 is yours whenever you need it. 24-hour access. Lisa walked down the familiar hallway. How many times had she been here as a student? How many hours spent in these rooms, doors closed, practicing until her fingers ached? Room 204 had a beautiful grand piano, recently tuned, well-maintained, professional quality. Lisa sat down at the bench and just looked at it for a moment. This was real. She was really doing this. She placed her hands on the keys and began to play, scales first warming up, then arpeggios, then the Chopin etude she'd performed in her senior recital. Her fingers were rusty. She hit wrong notes. Her timing was off in places. But underneath the mistakes was something solid, something that had never really left. Lisa practiced for 3 hours straight. When she finally stopped, her back was sore and her fingers were tired. But she felt more like herself than she had in years. On the train ride home, she looked at her reflection in the dark window. A woman staring back at her. Not the girl with dreams. Not the waitress who'd given up. Someone new. Someone brave enough to try again. Someone who'd finally answered the question that had been haunting her for 3 years. What if? Now she was about to find out. The 2 weeks before the audition passed in a blur of practice sessions, media appearances, and restaurant performances. Lisa barely slept. Every spare moment was spent at Berkeley, drilling the pieces she'd chosen for the symphony audition. Her fingers had blisters. Her shoulders ached from hunching over the piano. But slowly the rust was coming off. The music was coming back. The morning show appearance had been surreal. Flying to New York, staying in a fancy hotel, sitting in the green room while makeup artists worked on her face. She'd played for millions of people watching at home, her hands shaking so badly for the first few notes that she thought she might pass out. But then the music took over, the way it always did, and by the end the hosts had tears in their eyes. The video from that performance went viral too. Another 10 million views, more offers, more pressure, more strangers thinking they knew her story. Romano's was packed every Wednesday and Saturday night now. Mr. Romano had to turn people away. They'd set up a small stage area around the piano, with proper lighting and a good sound system. Lisa would play 2 sets each night, mixing classical pieces with some modern interpretations, feeling out what the audience wanted to hear. Some nights were magical. Other nights she felt like a performing seal, playing the same requests over and over. Play the song from the video, someone would shout. They always meant Claire de Lune. She must have played it 50 times in 2 weeks, but she was making real money now. Enough to start paying down her student loans. Enough to build a small savings account. Enough to feel like maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. The night before the symphony audition, Lisa couldn't practice anymore. Her brain was full. Her fingers needed rest. She went to Romano's even though it wasn't her scheduled night. Sitting at the bar with a glass of wine, watching the current pianist they'd hired for the off nights play background music. Jake slid onto the stool next to her. "Big day tomorrow." "Huge," Lisa said. "You nervous?" "Terrified." "Good, means you care." He ordered a beer. "Can I tell you something?" "I've worked here for 3 years. In all that time, I never saw you smile. Not really. You were always polite, always professional, but there was something sad about you. Like you were going through the motions." Lisa looked at him surprised. "But lately, you're different. Even with all the stress and craziness, there's something alive in you now. So whatever happens tomorrow, I think you already won." Lisa felt her throat tighten. "Thanks, Jake. Go crush it tomorrow. Then come back and tell us all about it. We're rooting for you." That night, Lisa lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She thought about the last time she'd auditioned for something important. Her final jury in college, performing for a panel of professors who would determine her grade, her standing, her future. She'd been so confident then, so sure of herself, so convinced that talent and hard work were enough. Life had taught her otherwise, but maybe life had also taught her something more important. That falling down wasn't the end. That starting over wasn't the same as giving up. That courage wasn't the absence of fear, but doing the thing anyway. She fell asleep around 3 in the morning and woke up at 7, groggy and anxious. The audition was at 2. She had 7 hours to get through. Lisa practiced lightly in the morning, just running through sections she wanted to reinforce. Dr. Chen had advised her not to overdo it today. "Trust your preparation," she'd said. "Your hands know what to do." At noon, Lisa put on the concert dress she'd bought specifically for this. Simple, black, elegant. She looked at herself in the mirror. Professional, serious, like someone who belonged on a symphony stage. The Boston Symphony Hall was even more beautiful than she remembered. She'd been here once as a student, sitting in the cheap seats, watching professionals perform and dreaming that someday it could be her. Now she was backstage in the warm-up room, about to walk onto that very stage. There were 3 other pianists auditioning today. Lisa could hear them practicing in other rooms. All of them sounded incredible. All of them probably had more consistent training, better preparation, stronger resumes. Lisa closed her eyes and took deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The way her first piano teacher had taught her when she was 8 years old and nervous about her first recital. "Lisa?" A stage manager poked her head in. "You're up in 5 minutes." This was it. Lisa walked through the backstage hallways following the stage manager. She could hear the muffled sound of the previous audition ending. Applause from the panel, then silence. The stage manager opened the door and gestured forward. "Good luck." Lisa stepped onto the stage of Boston Symphony Hall. The house lights were dim. She could see 5 people sitting in the center section, the audition panel. They had folders, pens, serious expressions. Beyond them, the empty seats stretched up and back, row after row of red velvet. The grand piano sat center stage, gleaming under the spotlight. A Steinway Model D, the same kind used by the greatest pianist in the world. "Ms. Lisa," one of the panelists said, his voice echoing in the vast space. "Whenever you're ready. We'll start with the Bach Prelude and Fugue." Lisa walked to the piano and sat down, adjusted the bench height, took a breath, placed her hands on the keys. And then something interesting happened. The fear that had been building for weeks, the anxiety that had kept her up at night, the voice that kept whispering she wasn't good enough, it all went quiet. In that moment, sitting at that beautiful piano in that legendary hall, Lisa felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. She wasn't here because of the viral video. She wasn't here because of luck or timing or internet fame. She was here because she could play. Because she'd spent thousands of hours of her life learning this craft. Because music was part of who she was, and running from it had never made it go away. Lisa began to play. The Bach flowed from her fingers with crystalline clarity. Every note precise, every phrase shaped with intention. She moved through the prelude into the fugue, handling the complex counterpoint with confidence. This was what she'd been trained for. This was what she knew. When she finished, there was a pause. Then one of the panelists said, "Thank you." Now the Beethoven Sonata, third movement. Lisa launched into the Beethoven. This one was harder, more technically demanding. There was a section in the middle that had given her trouble all week. A rapid passage that required perfect coordination between her hands. As she approached it, she felt a flash of anxiety. But her hands knew what to do. The hours of practice paid off. She made it through cleanly. The final piece was a Rachmaninoff prelude, the most romantic and emotional of the three. This was where Lisa could show not just her technique but her musicality, her ability to make people feel something. She poured everything into it, all the heartbreak of the last 3 years, all the fear and doubt, all the fragile hope of the last 2 weeks. The piano sang under her hands, big chords and delicate melodies interweaving into something that filled the entire hall. When she played the final chord and lifted her hands from the keys, the silence that followed felt sacred. "Thank you," the head panelist said. "That was lovely. We'll be in touch by the end of the week." And that was it. 7 minutes of performance that would determine everything. Lisa stood, bowed slightly, and walked off stage. Her legs felt shaky. Her heart was pounding. But she'd done it. She'd actually done it. Outside the stage door, Dr. Chen was waiting. "How do you feel?" "I don't know," Lisa said honestly. "I played well, I think. But so did everyone else. Now you wait." The next 3 days were torture. Lisa tried to distract herself with work, with practice, with anything. She played her regular nights at Romano's, but her mind was elsewhere. Every time her phone rang, her heart jumped. Thursday afternoon, she was in the practice room at Berkeley when the call finally came. Unknown number with a Boston area code. "Hello? Is this Lisa? This is calling from the Boston Symphony Orchestra." Lisa's hands started shaking. "Yes, this is her. We'd like to offer you the guest soloist position for our April concert. You'll be performing Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue with the full orchestra." "Congratulations." Lisa had to sit down. "I got it. You got it." The panel was unanimous. They were very impressed. "We'll send over the contract details, but we wanted to tell you personally, welcome to the Boston Symphony." After the call ended, Lisa sat in the practice room for a long time, just processing. She'd done it. Against all odds, against all the voices that said she'd waited too long or given up her chance, she'd actually done it. She called her mom first. Her mother cried. Then she called Dr. Chen, who laughed with delight. Then she went straight to Romano's, even though it was only 4 in the afternoon. Mr. Romano was in the kitchen, arguing with a supplier about tomato prices. When he saw Lisa's face, he stopped mid-sentence. "You got it," he said. "I got it." He whooped and grabbed her in a hug, spinning her around while the kitchen staff cheered. Angela came running from the office. Jake high-fived her so hard her hand stung. That night, they had an impromptu celebration at the restaurant. Regular customers heard the news and toasted her. The young woman who'd filmed the original video showed up by coincidence and cried again. Mr. Romano brought out expensive wine. Lisa played piano for hours, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. 3 months later, Lisa stood backstage at Symphony Hall again. But this time it was performance night. The house was packed. Her parents were in the audience. Dr. Chen was there. Mr. Romano and Angela had bought tickets for the whole restaurant staff. The young woman from that first video was there too, having become a friend. But more importantly, Lisa was ready. Really ready. Not just technically, but emotionally. She'd learned something important in the journey from that Friday night at the restaurant to this moment. Talent wasn't enough. And fear wasn't an excuse, but showing up authentically was everything. When she walked onto that stage in her elegant gown, when she sat at that magnificent piano, when she heard the orchestra tuning behind her, Lisa felt complete. This wasn't about proving something to the world anymore. This wasn't about redemption or second chances or viral videos. This was about a woman who'd remembered who she was, found the courage to try again, and discovered that the best performances don't happen when we're chasing approval. They happen when we're brave enough to share our gifts exactly as we are, trusting that our authentic voice is enough. The conductor raised his baton. The orchestra began, and Lisa played like she was finally, beautifully, impossibly home.